Hello and welcome to part 7 of creating sports graphics with Boris Continuum with me, Ben Brownlee. So our animation doesn't end once we've taken the project out of Title Studio. What we're going to be doing in this part of the exercise is we're going to be adding a bit more kind of cool eye candy, sort of tweaking and improving the render that we've taken out. Also adding in a background and seeing what else we can do to make the background start to pop a little bit. Alright, so here is the result of the render that we've done, and it's not looking too bad actually. I'm liking where this is going to. We've got the animation coming in, we've got the depth of field so it comes into focus, got the little wobble on the ball there. Yeah, I like that. Right, but we now need to make this a bit more interesting. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually create a background for it so that it's got something to sit on that's not just black, a black background, plain black background. And to do that, we're actually going to use another effect. Let me call this one. And the effect is particle illusion. And I'm just going to create a black solid and come into continuum particles. And here is particle illusion. And if you haven't used particle illusion before, let's pop into the effects browser and have a quick look here. Now, particle illusion is a particle system, hence its name, makes a bit of sense. And it's a nice, fast 2D particle system, which makes it perfect for doing motion backgrounds, fast motion backgrounds. If we look at the presets that we have in the FX browser, it doesn't look like it's got a lot of presets. We've got, 10 presets in here? Well, the actual real power of particle illusion happens when we launch particle illusion and it shows up in its own interface. Because instead of having just those 10 presets we saw earlier, it's actually got thousands and thousands of presets, all nicely categorized into, categories here. And there we go. And we can even search in here as well for something that I quite like. And it will find things like fire or smoke or water. And we can see all of those ones there. And we've got a lot of emitters that have got tags in them as well. So it makes things easier to search for. So if I do a search on background, let's have a look what we can see here. You see we've got a lot to choose from. I'm looking for something that's in motion, but not too fast or in your face. I don't want it to distract from what we've got before. Actually, maybe the light sheet looks kind of cool. And this rings triple looks cool as well. I like this. This is kind of just, if I move the cursor around in the sampler, that's actually giving us quite an interesting little effect. I like that. All right, we're going to go with that. Just double click on rings triple and that brings it over into the viewer and onto the canvas here. And it's not quite filling up all of the area. So what we'll do is we'll just come to the zoom and we'll just zoom it up so it does fill in. Now I can animate the emitter directly within particle illusion. So we can choose where the emitter is happening. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to apply in here because I can also animate everything up directly within the host as well. So if I come to transforms and go to emitter, I've got my emitter offset, which I can change up here. And I'm going to use a very simple expression. I could add keyframes to this, but because I'm working in After Effects, I'm just going to add a simple expression. And the expression I'm going to use is wiggle. And it's going to ask me how many times I'm going to wiggle every second. And I'm going to go 0.3. And how much am I going to wiggle? 350. Let's try that one. So as we preview that back, you can see the particle here, or the emitter here, is just moving a little bit around, giving me this nice little trail effect. I might even turn that up. Instead of 350, let's go 650. That's cool. One of the other things I can do in particle illusion as well is I can also change up the zoom size directly within the host. I don't have to go back into particle emitter to change that up. And this is a cumulative process. So it's going to use this zoom on top of the zoom that we already have. I'm also going to preload a few frames to sort of fill us in a little bit. And it's going to give us a nice little effect there. Excellent. I'm going to add another copy of Particle Illusion over the top. I don't have to do it this way. I can add multiple emitters into the same effect, but I want to do something a bit different with this one. And I'm going to look for some sparkles, because I'm going to build up some sparkles over the top of this. Again, just so we've got a little bit of interest going on. I don't want anything too jazzy, but I do like sparkle smoke. Okay, so we're going to take that as a base point, double click on that, play that through. Yeah. And I'm going to change some of this up. I'm going to take off the smoke. So we've got two smokes down here. We've got smoke and smoke 2. I'm going to take the opacity down on smoke 2. I'll take that down to about 10. Come to smoke 1, take the opacity down on that. Actually, just down to 0. I don't really even want to do that. Maybe I could have just hidden that. So just click on the burger menu, but I didn't know that to begin with. So a nice thing is that you can just play around until you find something you like. And I'm going to come down into sparkles here, and I'm going to take my weight down to a negative number. So it's actually going to be moving up there. Take the size down a little bit. Cool. So the sparkles are looking good. Now I just want to change how they're actually being emitted. So at the moment, if I have a look at the main emitter and go into properties here, my shape is a point. I can change that to a line and come in and draw a line. I can even draw a line so it sits just off of the, if I zoom this out a little bit, take my line so it zooms, I'll start off of the canvas there. I can add onto the velocity. I can change the lifespan up a little bit, and I'll also take the number down because I don't want quite that many. And of course, all of these can be keyframed and animated, and we can do a ton more stuff with this, but I just want to add a little bit of sparkle into the background. Maybe let's push that over as a diagonal. Yeah, that's looking kind of cool. Take the lifespan up. Yeah, I'm sort of liking that. Let's maybe make it so it's not quite all the way. Add some more motion randomness. And we'll see how that goes. Let's click that OK and apply that and bring that back into the host. Okay, so now we've got this here. If I open up the Particle Illusion 2 and have a look at the composite there, instead of having it as a compositing directly over the top and blending in like that, I can also change it to alpha plus apply mode and change my apply mode here. So I can have it as a screen or as add. That's looking all right. Let's see how that looks underneath the graphic there. So is that too much? And I don't think so. I'm actually liking that in the background there. Sort of just blurred out. Got a nice amount of fizz to it. But of course, I can also come in and keyframe all of this up. So I can change my number. Start my number at 0 here. Add a keyframe. Come over a few frames later, and then just bring this up to 100 again. So we get the sparkle happening. Boom. Yeah, I like how that's working. Cool. Let's open this up a little bit more so you can see that a bit better. Maybe we do want it to extend down a little bit further here. If we do, just launch Particle Illusion one more time. I can just bring that over, hit apply, and that will update immediately for me. Yeah, I'm liking that. There we go. And the great thing about particle illusion is that it renders out really nice and fast as well. You know, we're throwing around quite a lot of particles, but it's rendering out nice and quickly on that. So now it's time to actually add some effects to the 3D animation itself. You know, because once we've taken this out of Title Studio, once we've rendered out Title Studio, it's actually, we're not finished with it at all. We can add a few more sort of glints and glows and adding just that sort of eye candy appeal to it. And one of the favorite things I like to do here is come into my lights category. And there's a few that really sort of stand out. One of the ones I like quite a lot is edge lighting. And what edge lighting does is we're going to take our edges from the alpha channel and bring that up there. But what the edge lighting does is it sort of adds a light edge. Have a look down there. So I spin that around. It's kind of adding another edge light actually to our model. So it's a great way of filling in some of the black details that we have down here. Now I can come to shadows and take my shadow intensity down because I only want to add some highlights. I can bring my highlights up and you can see what it's actually doing. Bring that around there. So let's take our light elevation down a little bit and we'll take the highlight intensity down as well now. Add a bit of blur. I'm just going to animate that around. So I'm going to take it from where we start to see it in focus. Let's take the light direction at +60. So we've got, whoa, zoomed in there. Ben and his magic Wacom tablets. There we go. And let's bring this over to the end. And let's just shift that over to the edge there. So you can see we're filling in that little detail, that little line there. Okay, just changing up the blur on that. And this edge lighting is just it's a very cheap way of adding in an extra light that we didn't have previously. And it's not, 100% realistic, but it's a lot faster to render out than trying to add in more lights. And it does the job. It's giving us just that little rim light coming in there, like it. But the edge lighting goes across the entire image. I want to add a little bit more movement to it as well. So we can do a similar trick. Come back into my lights again. We can do a similar trick with a light sweep. And everyone's seen a light sweep. Let's bring this up here. So everyone's seen a light sweep. We're coming in. Let's just grab that there. It sweeps the light across our image here. That looks all right. We've all seen it a million times. One of the things I like to do with this, though, is actually I'm going to take my intensity down to 0. And the light sweep just disappears, of course. Now, in the continuum light sweep, I've got my edges that I can take from alpha. Look familiar? Yeah, it's the same sort of controls as the edge lighting. So I'm going to just bring my edge light elevation up a little bit. I'm going to bring my intensity up significantly as well. And now, check out what's happening to my edges. I've just got an edge light sweep. And who's liking that? Me. I'm liking that. I like that a lot. I'm going to click on View Edges Only. I can come to my light elevation. I can just decide where it is that I want to have these the highlight strength put. So I'll bring my light elevation to about 40 or 39. Great. I can come into Common now and decide what the apply mix is going to be. Is it going to be add? Is it going to be screen? I can even apply like a gel or a matte from a different layer or from the same layer. What this is going to do is going to give me kind of like a colored edge light rather than just like a plain white one. So it's taking the colors off of my layer here. I don't really want that for now. I'm kind of happy with just how it is. Let's twirl up common again and just animate up the edge. So let's take us back to where we come in, which is around about here. Going to bring my light center all the way over. Take one, add a keyframe, come over to the other side and sweep that light over. Just look at what that light's doing. There we go. Lovely. And leave it so we've still got a little bit of light shining in here. Make sure that's doing the work. Yeah, cool. All right, I'm going to add one more copy of this. Just going to duplicate this up. Edit, duplicate. Going to change the direction of the light. We've got it coming to around on the other side. Let's see what that does. It's looking cool. We're catching it here, and I can even animate up that direction as well. So we just get this light that's sweeping across over the area there. So that's really giving us a nice bit of light there. Just coming in and sweeping that there. We'll do a RAM preview on that. There we go. That's a nice little trick. You can see it's giving us a little bit more movement onto the animation, making it look as if we've got more lights kind of just moving around. And I know it's a cheap trick, but I really like it. There we go. Okay, so speaking of fun things that I really like, we're going to have a look at one of my favorite types of effects now, which is a lens flare. I'm going to come in, I'm going to create a new solid. I am going to call this one lens flare. And let's come to our lighting and go to lens flare 3D. Okay, so we've got a lovely little lens flare here. I'm going to come into my effects browser and have a look at some of the presets we've got. We've got quite a lot of presets for lens flares in here. Very nice. The one I'm looking for, I think, though, is my soft flare colored fog. There we are. All right. And with the flare color, let's actually just set this to screen so we can see what's happening underneath. Ooh, all right. Okay, and with the fog color, with the flare color, I'm going to come into flare, and you can see we've got a color coming on here. I'm just going to select a blue, maybe brighten that up a little bit. There we go. So we just get a little bit of a blue flare happening. One of the other things I want to do is come into my obscuration map. So what this is going to do is it's going to look at the layer that we choose, and we're looking at the alpha channel, and as it goes underneath, it's going to be affecting how our flare looks. So this is a nice way to get changes in flare intensity without having to do any keyframes whatsoever. And it kind of means as we track along areas here, we can be getting in some nice kind of natural flicker and flimmer from the flame, from the flare. Let's start us around about here. So let's open up our built-in, let's keyframe this up. So bring that around about there. And then when it gets there, bring that down, sort of try almost following the edge there. And we'll have it starting, have the layer starting around about there. There we go. Okay. Bring the scale up. So you see it's actually doing something. Give it a quick RAM preview, see what we've got. I actually like it most when it's over here. So I'm going to start it even further. Just change the length there. So we only get that little bit. I think that's fine. We're surprisingly going to go for a less is more approach on this. Goodness. Never thought I'd do that. All right, and the final little thing that I want to do is just, let's bring our particle illusion layer back in. The final thing I want to do with this is just add a couple of overall effects, just to sort the color out just a wee little bit. I'm going to use an adjustment layer in After Effects. I'm just going to use, let's come up to our effects library. I'm just going to search for composite. I'm going to use BCC composite. bring that over the top. And I'm going to change my apply mode to multiply on this. And just bring this back. Of course, we could color correct this up, but I actually like what this does to it in a nice sort of easy, fast way. Just bringing in and scaling in the shadows a bit more. I kind of like that. I'm going to add one of my favorite effects, which is the fast film glow. Pretty much add this to everything. It comes in really hot. It comes in so you can actually see that it's doing something. I'm going to change the glow threshold up really high, so it's only the brightest points that are actually going to be glowing stuff out. So that's all of this stuff here. Change up my glow radius, boost that up a little bit, take the glow intensity down. Now I could do a little bend special and do 2 bits of glow, one on top of each other, to really kind of boost that out. But actually, we just need something nice and soft in the background, because remember, we're going to have an information strap over the top of this in just a second, so that's going to be fine. And then the final one, actually, let's come over here and just search for it. I'm going to go vignette, and we're going to use the BCC vignette, and I'm going to use, as a style, color and blur. So it's going to blur out the edges of the vignette as well. Change my color opacity just down, so it's just got a tiny amount of darkening in there, plus the extra bit of blurring. Take the blur down a bit as well. We don't want too much. We've already got some blurring happening there. Cool. So before, after. Actually, it's just the before, after, before, after. So you see, just adding a few little effects just has really started to boost that up quite nicely. Adding in quite a few little bits of glare and glow. It's really starting to come together. And that's looking all right. I think one of the things I've noticed, though, as that was rendering through, is that without the lens flare at the start, it's looking a little bit dark in comparison to the end bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate my lens flare up, bring this over here, and let's get rid of the keyframes that we've already got. And I'm going to start that flare over here. So where we have that glint just at the side there, I'm actually going to follow that glint along, falling off just around about there, to be taken over by the other flare that's happening here. Maybe I have a little bit more of a transition over those two, because we've seen we probably don't want 2 flares happening at once. That might be a little bit too much. And let's start this off the screen a little bit. Let's give that a quick RAM preview and see how that works. With a tiny bit more love, that could work really, really nicely. But we're kind of all right how it is there. Obviously, I might want to just tweak up a few things at a later date, but I think for now, that's starting to come together quite well. So another quick before. It looks all right. And then after, we can see how much effect just giving a tiny bit more love to it after it's rendered out actually gives it. Great. Okay, I think we are ready to move on to the next part. But in this section, what we've done is we've created a animated motion background from scratch using particle illusion in just maybe a couple of minutes. We've then added in our rendered out 3D model from Title Studio, added a bit of edge lighting to it to make sure that it shines up a little bit more. So that's looking kind of cool. We used light sweeps, we've used the edge lighting, and it's starting to animate up and look good. Then we've added in a couple of lens flares as well. We explored a little bit of the lens flare stuff. Add in a little bit of lens flare just to make that shine. And then on a little adjustment layer at the top, we use a little trick with the BCC composite with an apply mode set to multiply, take that down a little bit. Just add a little bit of depth and saturation to our shot with a bit of fast film glow just to glow that up, and a vignette just to bring it all together. So we now have an interesting motion background that we can now use to put our informational plinth over the top of it. And it's that informational plinth that we're going to be looking at in part 8 and seeing how we can quickly build that up again. So I hope this section has been interesting for you. Please join me in the next part where we look back into Title Studio and use it for 2D informational graphics. All right, I'll see you there. Thanks for watching, and be sure to go to borisfx.com to download a free trial of Boris Continuum so you can try this out yourselves. If you want to see more of this type of tutorial, or you have some ideas of your own, be sure to leave a comment below. Also, subscribe to the Boris YouTube channel to stay up to date with the latest information and training materials on all the Boris FX products.